mythical, magical unicorn. How the heck are you? I am so excited because I have a dear friend here who's going to radically change your life. So pay attention, because take notes, do all the things, because I get to introduce my dear friend, Monica Tanner, who is an expert in relationships. And not just an expert in relationships. She has a program, which she's now renamed, but in the Latimer household, we will always call it the secret art of sexpionage. And let me just tell you, we're entrepreneur families, you already know we love systems, like systems are our favorite, but you always need tips and tricks and all of the things. And that's what she did for us. And there's a few things that she uses. There's a few things she talks about that we use on a regular basis that have made our marriage just stop. So welcome, Monica Tanner. Do you want to say anything to get us started? Like, what do you want to say?
I just want to say I love you. I don't love you enough to lick your face, but I love you almost that much.
Yeah, she's commenting because I did say that I wanted to lick my husband's face today. Sometimes I say I want to lick his brain because his brain is so sexy to me. Like when he gets going on and it just kind of comes out of my mouth that I want to lick his sexy brain, and it's always at like an inappropriate moment. Like it will be like a business meeting, and there'll be like people, and I'm like, I just want to lick your brain, and they're like, ew.
I love it. I think it's fantastic.
But I do. Okay, so tell us all the things. What do we need to know? I know that the recession is happening in the financial realm right now, but I feel like there's a recession that happens in relationships. Do you have anything to add about like how to get out of these ruts, how to start 2023, like with fire in the sheets and bedroom and all of the things? Like, I don't know, we can go, this might be PG-13, who knows? Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know.
After it's over.
I don't know where this is gonna go, but I'm just excited and I'm here for it. So tell me all the things. I need to know all of the ticks. I need to know the tricks, the tips, all the things.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, I love that you mentioned that there's a recession, because the coolest thing about putting time and energy into your marriage is it costs you nothing. However, it will cost you a lot if you don't do it. So as we're going into a recession and people are starting to conserve their money, you don't have to conserve your love. Like, give it freely. Give it to your spouse, number one, your children, and your neighbors and your community, right? But no matter what type of recession, no matter what your financial situation, you can always put time and energy into your marriage relationship. And it will take you through, it doesn't matter what the economic situation is.
That is so true, because I think that's one thing. I love to have fun, which is no shocker to anybody that follows me. But it doesn't matter how much money my husband and I have had, because it goes like this with our entrepreneur journey. And ladies, I forgot to mention, Monica is an entrepreneur wife. Her husband owns a humongous pest control company. It's like, she always says, oh yeah, we used to have one in California, and this, like all over, okay? So ginormous, and she's probably been there with the ups and the downs, but some of my favorite memories of dating my husband were when we were living in our trailer park, poor. And like our big adventure was going to Taco Bell and getting all of the sauce packets and taking a few extra and putting them in our fridge. Yes, we were those people at the time. I am sorry. We were the sauce stealers.
I love that you say that, because my favorite memories of our marriage as well is when we were living in this teeny, teeny, tiny apartment, like literally so small. There was a bed, and like there was basically a break in the wall that was a fireplace.
Oh,
and
wow.
we put our TV in the fireplace, and so our bed doubled as the sofa or whatever. It was like the only piece of furniture in the room. We had a bed and we had a TV inside of the fireplace nook. Yeah, and our date nights, so we're going to talk about date nights because they're very, very important, but our date nights, we're going to the 50-cent movie, so it cost $1 for us to see a movie, 50 cents each, and then we would go get $1 junior bacon cheeseburger. We'd get
split it?
two each.
Oh, okay.
No, we'd get two each, so that our date nights were $5, and we would sneak them into the movie. So 2 junior bacon cheeseburgers, or junior bacon cheeseburger and a fry, right? Because it was like the dollar menu at Wendy's.
I know, what can
And
we
you
do
would
for $5?
Sneak it in to the dollar Tuesday night 50-cent movie thing
I don't even think you can sniff a piece of pizza for $5 right now. I mean, maybe you could. Remember you used to be able to buy a $5 pizza?
But that was so fun.
So fun.
Like,
I feel like this should be a
favorite
challenge
memories of
for
that.
me. This should be a challenge for me.
$5 date nights.
A $5 date night.
I actually have a handout that I could offer to your squad. That's 102 cheaper free date nights. Because literally it does not need to be expensive to be so much fun.
I love that. Yes. The answer is yes. All the things. We want all the things because I will tell you, I love date night. My husband and I are obsessed with date night. We don't miss it. But I remember the first time my husband started doing date night, it was weird. So what about those people that are like, I don't do date night, I'm uncomfortable, maybe I've had a baby, maybe we don't really talk about, like, what should they start to do to start off date night?
So if date night is weird to you, then something is probably wrong.
Yeah.
But don't call it date night. Call it hanging out, whatever you want to call it. But you should be spending 3 hours a week making memories, enjoying one another's company, laughing, creating those inside jokes that bond you together. I mean, that is what date night is. Like, it's just the opportunity to slow down, to put your business on hold. Like, seriously, nobody's going to cancel their service because you're spending 3 hours with your spouse. So, distractions turned off. Like, literally, I always use this story because you'll see these couples on date night and they're really trying, like they're not looking at their phones and they're having this conversation, and then one of them gets up to go to the bathroom and the other one like picks up the phone. Like, it's like 10 seconds she walks away and he's like, I gotta check my email or something, like, or start scrolling social media. But like, literally, don't pick up your phone. If your partner goes to the bathroom, like, scan your environment for something to talk about, or think about the things that you appreciate about your spouse, and then let them know when they come back. Like, seriously, like, you don't have to pick up your phone if there's like a slight lull in the conversation. Like, practice giving your undivided attention. And if your partner leaves to go somewhere, think about them while they're gone.
I know.
Like, it's okay.
I am guilty of this, and the only reason I know this is because my husband, he got up, went to the bathroom, and then I was like checking my phone, but then I was so upset and butthurt because he posted on Facebook while he was in the bathroom, so he grabbed his phone too, and I'm like, you monster, you were looking at your phone, and he's like, how did you know? And I was like, because I was looking at mine. Like, it was just so extra, but like, it hurt my feelings, and I'm like, well, that's weird because I give myself grace, but sometimes I don't give my spouse grace. And he was running a company, and it was like a post. It's so funny because one time that exact same situation happened, except for his team member was posting it, and it wasn't him. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. He goes, but you must
You're
have
like, my team member was checking it
my
for
team
me.
member must have checked it and just like, it was a download. He's like, yeah, right. I'm like, But, okay, so cheap date nights, free date nights, having
Be
fun,
creative. And if you're not creative, like, here's, we can go through all the excuses if you want. Like, cheap, like I already told you, cheap or free. Like, so money is not an excuse. I'm not creative. I can't think of cheap or free date nights or whatever. Okay, there's people like me and like the dating divas and like hundreds of other people that I could just tell you about that sit around and think of creative date nights. So you don't have to be creative.
That's
There's
true.
tons of people that can do that for you. Just like, I can give you all the resources, like, just lock into somebody else who geeks out over creative date nights and just do everything that they say.
Now, this isn't true for my husband, but I'm like starting to think about like other people, like what would their hangups be? Because we do date night. But I'm trying to
Yes.
think of what would a husband's, like what if they just aren't
We
adventurous?
don't like to do the same things. Oh, I
Yeah.
could give you all the excuses. Like, we don't like to do the same things. Great, alternate. Do something that you like, do something that he likes. Try to find something that you've never done before that maybe both of you guys will like. There are so many benefits to date night. But one of the things is like getting out of your comfort zone. Like, how bonding is that when like your husband like takes you to like look at flowers or no, Home Goods or something, right? You guys go to Home Goods together. Like, that's not what he would choose, but you're like,
My
oh, this is so
husband
sexy, right?
looks so sexy in Home Goods.
Right?
Babe, if you're watching this, he looks sexy in Home Goods and Target, at Starbucks. I just undress you with my eye. I just undress you right there.
Like, try to order for each other at Starbucks. That's a great date. Like, that's such a fun date, is go through the drive-through at Starbucks and try to order each other's favorite drink. Like, there's just so many really fun things you can do together. But if you don't share the same interests, then do different things together until you find something that you both like, or just enjoy the other person being uncomfortable. Because that's bonding, and it's memorable, and it's fun, and then you've got fun jokes together. Like, you can literally just sit and watch something funny, like a comedy routine or like a funny rom-com or something like that, and it's like something that the two of you do together. Like, laughter is so bonding. It releases all the feel-good chemicals, and if you're looking at somebody that you love when you're laughing, it's like imprinting. It's like Twilight, where they imprint on each other.
My husband's imprinted
Like,
on me.
laughter is such great medicine, and especially if you're running a business or your spouse is running a business and it's stressful and you're like carrying the weight of the world all week
Sometimes
long.
you're doing the laugh cry. You're doing I'm just kidding.
Like, spend date night, like, relieving each other's stress. Do things that relax you and that you can enjoy. Like, give each other massages naked. I mean, we're PG-13ing it, right? Al?
Yeah, PG-13 away. Just do the things. Just do the things.
Just do things that you can relax and enjoy your time together.
Okay. I that leads me to some other questions that I've had with different women, because I've met hundreds and thousands of women, and we've got to help coach a lot of them. But one thing that was funny that you had mentioned about like trying to find something free and different things like that. I remember my husband and I went to date night, and we didn't know what to say because we were going to not use our phones. And so we were like, it got really dry, and it was like, what do we do now? And Josh goes, let's make up stories of why everybody else in the room is here. Like,
Yes.
like, see that couple over there? I bet her name is Veronica, and they're on their first date, but she's a spy. Like, we just would make up these ridiculous stories of why they were dating, if they were dating, like all the back drama. Like, we had so much fun. It was like we were script writers. I mean, probably not good ones, but like it was
People
really fun.
watching is one of the best free date nights you could ever do. Like, window shopping. Like, go to like an expensive mall area and just look at all the things that you would never buy, right? Or go shopping for a really upscale apartment or house, right? Or just people watch. Go to a crowded area and just do exactly
it.
what you were doing. Like, all of those things are free, but they are also very bonding. They connect you together, and they make all kinds of like this shared language or experiences that only you guys know about that are so fun.
Yeah, my husband and I even have secret games. It's called the tooth game. It's not even an inappropriate game. It sounded like I was going to say an inappropriate game, but I wasn't. It's not inappropriate. It's just like we just have these little fun games and like funny code words. Like, I literally could look at my husband across the room. Now listen, ladies and gentlemen, I wanted to literally kill him sometimes, and we almost got divorced, and it was a hot mess. But with systems and date night and all that stuff, it's like you said in the podcast that we did earlier, so check out the podcast when it comes out. But you had said that you start to love your husband more, like you love him more. And I feel that for Josh, because I love him so much more. But I can look at him across the room and see him talking to somebody and know exactly what my husband's thinking. Like, it's like we have telepathy or something, but it's not. It's just because I know him so well, I can see when he's uncomfortable or when he's thinking, or like, you just start to know each other so well that you can not even say anything. And
Because you've invested the time, right? We love
Yeah.
what we spend time with and what we invest in and we put our energy and heart into, right?
Yeah.
So do that for your marriage.
we also are very open with communication, and I know that's a big thing for you, is talking about communication. And my husband will be like, just tell me all the things that I don't want to hear. Like, what are you really thinking? So talk about communication and why it's good and all the things.
Well, it was funny because in that same podcast that you're referencing, he was like, I love it when Ashley will help me with like whiteboarding, and she'll like come up with this fantastic idea, like all this stuff. And she's like, he's like, I don't know if she even likes it. And I'm like, well, have you asked her? Right?
Which is funny because he's like, let's just cut the bull crap and let's just talk about what's going on. Like, if I'm like, he's like, how are you? I'm like, I'm fine. He's like, no, just tell me what I did wrong. And I'm like, no, nothing. But now we've learned over 20 years, let's just get to the point. Like, we already love each other. We're going to figure this out. Let's make it really clear and short. But yeah, he never thought of asking me that in the marketing realm, in the business realm, because he thinks everybody loves business as much as he does. Like, when people are like, what hobbies do you have? Business. No, but what other hobbies? Marketing, sales. Those. They all go
Anything
the
that
same.
has to do with business.
Yeah, it's like, if I want to get them going, let's talk about some marketing.
Yeah, it's true. And it's like when you talk about communication, like if you go to therapy or counseling or whatever, they're going to talk about the importance of like different listening techniques and like nod your head and like, use I statements. There's all kinds of like little communication like hacks or something like that, right? But the truth is listening is truly getting to know somebody. It's being curious, it's being vulnerable, it's being willing to like, create that trust and safety that you can do only in a loving marriage relationship. I mean, you can be vulnerable with lots of different people. You can ask lots of different people lots of different questions. But over time, you create a space of trust and safety and mutual respect and goodwill, right? It's
Yeah.
like you could say something and you could say it absolutely ridiculously. And because I think the best of you, right? I'm always going to give you the benefit of the doubt. I'm like,
Yeah.
Ashley did not mean to tell me my hair looked horrible today.
I did not tell her that, because I told her my hair looked horrible, just don't look in the back.
But we do that for each other when we love each other. But
Yeah.
what happens is when couples don't communicate, when they don't spend the time to really like create this this very safe environment to be able to share how they're feeling and all of these different things, if they're not like co-piloting, like bringing it back to like entrepreneurship, right? If the wife just feels like she has no idea what is going on in the husband's world and his business, and he goes to work and he has this whole other life, and he comes home and he's just like, ugh, like he's spent all his words, he's not telling her what's going on, like she just feels like she's been dragged through the mud blindfolded, right? It's like that breakdown in communication, she feels secondary to this primary thing that her husband has. She doesn't feel like she's in it with him. She doesn't feel like she has any buy-in or part of it, right? And that makes you feel crappy.
Oh, so crappy. As an entrepreneur wife, I thought my husband's business was the other woman. And she got everything. She was just a greedy little thing. She got his time, his resources, everything. And I didn't feel second. I felt like 22nd on the list. I do have a question, because you talked about safety. That is one thing that I don't know if it's all women, but I do know entrepreneur wives really battle with this, especially if their entrepreneur is new and they don't feel safe and secure either financially or different things. Are there different tools and coping mechanisms to like say, I support you even though I'm freaking out inside? Like,
Yes, actually there is, and it's so simple. You guys are ready for this? It's like really, really simple.
okay, well, we need it. Simple. Write it down, ladies.
Yes, talk about it, right? Just say to your husband, hey, I am in full support. I am so excited for you. I am willing to take the ups and downs of this with you, but I need you to understand that, when I look in our bank account and there's like negative $30 in there and I need to go buy formula for our baby, it freaks me out and I don't know how to handle those emotions. And so
Yeah.
like sometimes you might come home and I'm going to be like a little agitated about how we don't have any money and I don't know how I'm going to feed the people, right?
Yeah.
Like you're just sharing those. It's nothing against you. It's not that I'm not supporting you. It's not that I don't love you. It's just I need to feel comfortable that I can go to the grocery store and buy like the necessities of life. And so when that's not happening, it makes me really nervous. Like just talking through that, right? And letting your husband understand, and like, I need you to tell me when we're overdrawn and I can't,
Yeah.
plan the vacation or whatever. Like, I need you to be communicating with me when I think that we're gonna have this big old birthday celebration for our kids and we don't have any money. Like, you need to be communicating with me. Like, I'm not gonna freak out, but I wanna be a part of this with you. I want to celebrate the wins and I want to help you, comfort you through the losses, right? Like, I'm here for all of it, but you've got to share with me, and then you've also got to be comfortable when I'm sharing my feelings with you. And
Yeah,
just
vice versa.
that communication, like, that's it. Like, so what are the tips and the tricks? The tips and the tricks are just talk about it. Be vulnerable and be curious. Like, honey, it seems like you've been really on edge lately when every time you get home from work, you're just really on edge and like hard to talk to. Like what's going on? Like, share with me,
Yeah.
like what's happening, right? Get really curious. Like like I tell this story a lot that, it's a principle called don't jump in the pool. And I think this is a really important skill for entrepreneur wives, especially to have, because if your husband is an entrepreneur, he's probably going like this, and
Is
you
this going to deal with drowning? Because we've all felt the drowning.
yes, you don't have to get whiplash. Like you don't have to
That's
like
one of our words is we say whiplash.
Yes.
Like our entrepreneurs like, hey, I have an idea. And you're like,
Oh.
wait, what? Wait, what? And they're like, yeah, I already bought the domain name. Like, we're doing this, this, and this. And it's like a redirect. And you're like, and then the entrepreneur will come back and be like, you just don't support me. And they're like, no, I do. I just am like trying to get in the co-pilot seat.
Yes.
And I feel like I
feel like I was in the ejector thing. Like.
yes, whiplash. So when you said it, it was like ding, ding, ding.
Yes, but don't jump in the pool is like what happens is we think that we're being supportive by sharing whatever emotion our people around us have. So this can be for your spouse, this can be for your children, right? Like if your 2-year-old is having a temper tantrum and like laying down on the floor kicking, you're not going to get down there and kick with him. But for some reason as wives, we think we have to be supportive by having like the same emotion that our spouse has.
Yeah.
And I call that jumping in the pool. So like
Interesting.
I tell this story where I went to Costco one day and I used the wrong card. Like my husband's like, this is your business card. This is your this card. If you're going to go spend over $100 at Costco, use this card, right? Like he's like all the instructions, right?
Oh,
and I
yeah.
remember it was like a really cold day and I went to Costco and I had the wrong card and I was like, oh, but it's under $100. Not a big deal. So I used the whatever card, right? He comes home, he'd had a horrible day at work, right? It wasn't about me, but he's like, goes and does his ritual and he goes and checks the bank account and he's like, did you go to Costco today? And I'm like, yeah, but I'm like, happy, chipper, like in the kitchen, like making the meal and the kids are in there, whatever. And, I just hear him like, you used the wrong card. And I'm like, okay. So that was basically his invitation for me to jump in the pool, right? He's like flailing around the pool. He's all pissed off because I used the wrong card at Costco, right? That was like
Yeah.
total his emotions. And he's flailing around in the pool and he was like trying to pull me in, right? And I'm like, not gonna do it.
That's true. They try to pull you in. Yes.
Yes. And I was like, you know what? I'm so sorry. Is there something I can do to help you transfer the money over? Or like what needs to happen now? Because yes, that is actually what happened. I went to Costco. I used the green card instead of the blue. I'm so sorry. Right? And he's like, bleh! Like, how many times have I told you? And then he goes into the office and figures it out in like 10 seconds, right? That's him getting out of the pool, right? But if I had jumped into the pool, that could have been an argument that lasted several days.
Oh yeah, because then
Over
it's
something-
then someone says something that's not appropriate and it talks about something in the past, which is maybe it was me. Maybe
Maybe use the wrong card.
yeah, and it just becomes like a poop fest. Where you're just
Don't
flinging
talk
poop.
to me like that. And who do you think you are?
Yep, and it's interesting too. There's probably times I'm probably thinking now that there's more times where I'm in the pool where I want my husband and I'm like, come play, come jump in my pool. I have this issue. It's not an issue. It's something I'm overcoming. But like, as a mom and an entrepreneur wife, so I'm wife, mom, all these things, sometimes I get really overwhelmed and have a lot of things. And it's not the Costco card, but it's like one thing will happen.
Yes.
And it's like, bleh,
And
like I
you're
just let it out.
Flailing around in the pool, but not drowning. You're not
No.
drowning. You're just flailing, right?
Yep.
And so think about it. If your husband jumps in the pool with you, then you're both just flailing around in the pool, right?
I'd probably accidentally drowned him. Let's be honest. I'd be climbing on him and he'd be like, get off of me.
But what if instead he stays normal and rational and he like gets a towel and as soon as you're ready to be done flailing around in the pool, he's just like holding a towel for you and he's like, hi, I missed you.
Yeah, it's perfect. I love that analogy. I love that analogy. You guys should all write it down. It's amazing. Now, I actually have a spicier comment or question.
Let's go.
There are a lot of women who have a hard time getting there in all of the ways with their husband. Like it's more of a female thing than a male thing of being able to like be in the mood. That's always the joke that a man's a microwave and a wife is a
Yes,
crock pot.
yes.
And like, is there a way for a woman to either shortcut that or a man to unlock that in them? Like, tell us all the things. Like, give us all the dirt because I know this is an area where people struggle, either the way that they were raised, like in the Christian community, they always are like, sex is bad. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Okay, be a porn star for your husband. And you're like, wait, what? And your brain is like, and so there's like all of these misconceptions, and you can't really research it without finding porn. It's like a whole thing. So help us unfold all of that I just said. That was a lot. That was a lot. Just help me peel back the things and like help us unlock, because I truly believe that sex can be a superpower for a husband and wife, and it creates a force field around you and around your family. Like when they're aligned in that way, in the sexual way, it's like unstoppable. So of course, things are going to try to destroy something so beautiful. So help us unpack that. What are some tips, tricks, anything? Tell us all the things.
Yeah, such a great question. I love this question. And I think one of the most important things is just understanding that typically, now don't like, this isn't textbook across the board everyone, so you could fall in opposite camps, but typically, men have what's called a spontaneous desire, which means at any point in seconds, they can be ready to go. It doesn't matter what they were thinking about before. It doesn't matter if they're in the middle of something. They're like, I see a beautiful woman. That woman is my wife. I'm ready to get it on. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yes.
It's spontaneous, right? Women typically have a responsive desire, which means you can't go from like cooking dinner to like, let's like jump into bed, right? They have to kind of get there, right?
Yeah.
And the what usually stands in the way of that is, I think of it like tabs open on your computer, right? Like when you're working on something, when I'm working on something, I have like 12 tabs open at the very least, like sometimes like 50, right?
Yeah.
There's just all these different things. And so for a woman to desire to have, it doesn't have anything to do with how amazing or hot or wonderful that your husband is. It's just they have to close down the tabs before that
True.
they can do it, right?
Because you're like, you have baby poop on your shirt, you
Right.
just made dinner and it's bath time, and then your husband's like, get naked, let's do this. And you're like, I do not feel sexy right now. I just had baby,
Yes. I've got to close the baby poop tab. I got to.
I just listened to way too many things of Baby Shark or something, and you're just like, I'm just not there. I'm just not hot and ready. I don't know why. Baby Shark just doesn't get me in the mood, everybody.
So just merely understanding that is helpful. Like, don't beat yourself up. You don't have spontaneous desire. You have responsive desire, which means that you have to feel a little bit of arousal before you're actually going to desire to want to go there. So, so that's the first thing, is like, give yourself some grace. Like, you just aren't built that way. You're not built to turn on like a light bulb. Like, you've got to warm up a little bit first, like, you know. And so, for a man, so I have a whole course called Understanding Female Desire, which is probably going to be very helpful.
Understanding female desire. I think females and males need to know this. We need
Yes.
to understand all the things of why we overthink and like have all the tabs open. There was actually something that you taught, which maybe you're going to talk about this in a second, that I'm going to share with everybody, that I used in the bedroom, everybody. And it was when we met over Clubhouse. That's how we met
Yes.
originally. We met on a Zoom call.
Yes.
But at Clubhouse or something, we were talking about the alter ego.
Oh, yes.
And showing up with an alter ego, like when you have all the tabs open. Can you explain that? Because I have an alter ego. And I didn't know it until I met Monica, and I was like, I'm gonna try this out. Like, if someone tells me, hey, this really works, maybe you should try it out, I'm like, let's try it out. Like, if it sounds good, I'll try it out. And so my alter ego was Veronica Hot Pants, and let me just tell you, my husband likes her. So tell us the alter ego.
I love it. Well, anytime anyone ever enters into one of my programs or my courses or anything like that, I just give you the warning or the caveat that anything related to relationships and like looking at yourself and confronting your, you know, all the different things that you have to control, because like, truthfully, the only thing you can control in the entire world is yourself. You can't control your husband, you can't control your kids, you can't control anything but yourself, right? And so when I'm teaching you things that you've got to confront about your life and yourself and your relationship, it's gonna get hard. Like, it's hard to do. Nothing worth doing is ever easy, right? And so one of the things that, the first things that we do in any of our programs is we create our alter ego. So everybody has kind of goals when they come to me and they want to work with me on their relationship. They have a goal, like, I want to be more chill, I want to be more fun, I want to be more spontaneous, I want to be better in bed, whatever it is that your kind of goals are.
Yeah.
And so you're going to construct an alter ego, which is not a different person than you. It's
No.
just a version of you that you can imbue with all of the characteristics.
Yeah, Veronica Hot Pants does not have baby poop on her shirt. She does not listen to Baby Shark. She just is like,
Sizzling hot, right?
she's sizzling hot and ready to go. Like, she
Right.
just loves herself. Like, that might be the thing too, is like feeling sexy in your own skin after you've been a mom and like I don't know. My husband still does not mind, but like
Yeah.
also
But you
feeling
have to
sexy
feel
in
good.
your own skin and stuff like that.
100%. So Monra is my alter ego, and she's based on this character She-Ra.
Oh,
She-Man
She-Ra,
and
Princess
She-Ra.
Warrior.
Yes.
Yes, I
she
love She-Ra.
is fantastic, right? She's sexy. She knows who she is.
Look
she
at
knows
that
how to lead
ponytail.
giant
Dang it.
armies and revolutions, and she knows where she gets her power from. Grayskull. She's freaking amazing, right? She-Ra is awesome, right?
Okay,
And
so is Monra.
I have a depiction of Monra, right? It's like She-Ra, but with dark, flowy hair, and like she looks like me. My face is on her beautiful body. Like, she's freaking amazing. And so anytime I have to do something that's like uncomfortable or a little bit hard, or like, I don't know, like try something new that might be super amazing, but it might not be, but I don't know if I can't try it, right? Like, I just channel Monra. And so
Come on, Monra.
it's like, right? It's like Sasha Fierce, right?
Yeah.
Rihanna has Sasha Fierce. And so, you know, it's like allowing you to be the best version of yourself, but instead of like having to think of yourself in this weird way that you want to grow into, it's just saying like, hey, Monra would know what to do here. Like, how would Monra be in this situation? Like, she is gonna just...
I love it. I think people don't talk about sex enough, and I mean that in the way of, like, there is no way there is an expert at sex, because you never know who's the best at sex. Like, that's one thing we don't know. Like, if she's a porn star, she's actually the worst at sex because she's having it with everybody. Like, but like this couple thing, and so it's like you just get better with your spouse, and so you can figure it out. So you can have weird times, and like you're like, oh, that was weird, and like. But I think that's something that my husband and I've learned together. Like, sometimes we're better than others, sometimes aren't. Like, we're figuring it out. But like, he doesn't know if I'm an expert, and I don't know if he's an expert. It feels like we're pretty expert now, but like, we could always learn tricks.
100%. And I think one big mistake that couples make is, especially women, they think, oh, he's just going to know what to do, right? And that's so, so false. Men don't just know what to do. Even if they've watched all the videos and the whatever.
They
and
actually means they probably don't know what to do.
Exactly.
If they watched all the videos, they do not know
100%.
what to do, because
Right.
that's fake, everybody. If you know what I'm talking about, that's fake. It's not.
But whatever, they're not just going to know what to do. And so I always encourage, especially women, especially new wives, you become the expert on your body. You've got to figure out, you've got to understand that you wanting pleasure doesn't make you a bad person. Like, life is hard, you guys. There are some rough, difficult things that we have to go through in this life. And there is nothing more beautiful and more sanctifying than being able to share your body and be able to give pleasure to the person that you've committed to be with for your entire life and beyond, right? Sex it's a sacrament with God, right?
I know, there's this new book called Mama Bear Sexuality, maybe, and it's like teaching kids about all this stuff, and it talks about how a husband and a wife, when they have sex, it's like them renewing their vows. It's like a new thing, and like
yes.
every time you have sex, you're renewing your vows. So ladies, if you've ever heard my story about me crying after my wedding and thinking it's over, but the marriage hadn't started yet, my husband always talks about that. Every time I have sex with my husband, it's like I'm saying I do again. I get to experience the wedding over and over again before the Lord, like with my husband. Like, it's a beautiful picture, which,
Isn't that cool?
yeah, but in the past, I will say that sex was a problem area for us, and I used to weaponize it, and also homeboy wasn't warming up the crock pot at all. Like, he was like,
You gotta teach homeboy how to warm up the crock pot.
I had to teach him.
Yeah,
I had to
good
teach
for
him,
you.
and I wasn't even an expert, but I was like, I just know this isn't working. You coming in at 2 a.m. after I've already been sleeping, like, and I don't get very much sleep, that's not it.
No.
And you just started, he just thought, you know what, if I, if I just start rubbing the parts, it's gonna happen. My whole team is probably like dying inside as they listen. Yeah, like, oh, she just doesn't know she wants it yet. She's just still sleeping. But like, it was a problem. And then it turned into kind of like jumping in the pool. When one person wasn't satisfied, the other person would attack. And it felt like an attack when we'd talk about sex. Instead of having fun with it and all the things that we do now, it was more like, it felt like a direct attack, like you're bad at it, or you don't want it as much as me. You must not love me as much because you're not doing that with me, or...
Husbands often, yes, that is the first place they go, is that you don't love them, right? Or you're not loving them. So let me go just like back to basics a little bit, like something that's really important to understand about all of us is like we're all born, and this comes from a book called Come As You Are by Emily Nagoski, but she describes our sexuality as like a garden, right? And so we grow up, and no matter who raises us or what society we're grown in, you have no control when you're a wee babe and you're like growing up in your life, you have no control over what's being planted in your garden.
Interesting.
So there could be flowers and vegetables and useful things being planted in there, but there's also lots of weeds being planted, like especially like sex is bad, or
trauma.
You shouldn't enjoy that, or yes, a good woman wouldn't want it, or whatever these weeds are, right? And weeds are so overpowering. And so what happens is you've got this garden and it's planted with all kinds of things that you couldn't control. And then when you get married or when you reach adulthood, you're like handed over like control of this garden, right? And so what your job now as an adult woman, especially after you're married, is to get in there and pull out the weeds. So if you're not having the results that you want in your marriage and your sex life,
We can gain control of that.
100%, but you have to be willing to pull out the weeds at the roots. You've got to pull out all the weeds and rototill the garden before we can start replanting those beautiful flowers. But the thing is you can have a beautiful garden that you love spending time in, that you love nurturing. And then, once you do that, there's still going to be little weeds because it's just a tricky topic. And like Satan and the world and whatever are working so hard to taint it. There's so much flying at you.
So hard.
All the time.
The porn industry, because I know that some things that husbands will say, like, oh, maybe you need to, like, some people think, oh, I need to watch porn to
figure it out.
To figure it out, which
whatever.
actually people who watch porn have a less sex life. And like, there's like all this studies and how porn rewires your brain and does all this stuff. And then you actually don't have as much sex, which is the irony. So don't go watching porn, everybody.
think
Like
that's
that is
the
not what's happening. That's like the enemy planting weeds in your garden. And more women are getting addicted to porn. And I'm wondering if that's why, is they're feeling like maybe I'm broken.
Maybe I'm not, I don't know how to do it right
Maybe I
or
don't-
whatever, but you are the expert and you can figure out like what brings you pleasure and all of that. But like we just said, like you can't prevent the weeds from coming in. But if you're tending your garden and you're caring for your garden, then those little weeds are very easy to pull out. They're very easy to spot. They look very different than the flowers and the vegetables that
true.
you're planting, and you just pluck them out. You just pluck them out. It's just very easy. But the ways that you can have access to those beautiful flower seeds is to follow somebody that you believe in, right? Like somebody like me or Emily Nagoski, or somebody who's distributing good
content.
information.
Good flowers
Yes,
and weeds.
good
Not
informa-
weeds. No
Good
weeds.
information about love and sex and marriage and intimacy.
Well, and also like when you like go to say, how can I up my sex life? It's going to find, I mean, you're gonna,
don't know what Google is going to do.
You don't know what Google's gonna do. One of my most embarrassing stories, I think I've already told you this, but then I had to reassess my life, so I'm just gonna tell everybody what happened. I'm at a mastermind that we paid lots of money to go to. And it's with Russell Brunson, and he has this lady come up there and like try to sell his massage. Like she's gonna give massages and she's like, the things that your husband really wants you to know. And it's kind of got like a sex lean, I'm gonna be honest. And she's explaining what she wants, and I'm gonna be honest, I want to know all the sex things, not the porn things. I don't want anything that's going to violate the beautiful thing that my husband and I have. But if someone's like, hey, you want to use an alter ego? Hey, this lingerie is amazing. Like anything that doesn't violate me between God and my husband, I'm here for it, okay? And so there's probably 50 people in the room, and they sell this offer, and they're like, who would want to buy this offer? And I'm like, make my sex life better? Yes, please. Like, I'm not an expert. Like, I'm not claiming that. Like, you know, we don't wear badges that's like, hey, I'm really great at sex. Only one person knows about it. Like, I don't, but I always want to know. Like, I feel like we can always prove, we can always learn from people like you because we need to so that we have this, you know, make it fun or whatever. So I raised my hand up like, oh, I want this offer. I was the only one in the room, and then my face got beet red, and everybody looked at me, and I was like, I want to die inside. And I think my husband was a little proud in the moment, because he was
Of course
like,
he was, because all the men were like, dang, why can't my
because I
wife-"
either looked like I was horrible at sex and I needed to learn a thing or two, or I was the kinkiest woman who's ever lived. And I think I'm neither. Like, I think I'm somewhere in
You're
between.
just a woman who is married who values that beautiful interaction that you get to have with your husband.
Yeah, and there are times that I don't want to, and I'm like, okay, let's do this, girl. Let's get your head right. Like, and so I need all the tools and
Your
tactics.
pump up song.
Yeah, like to get my head right. Come on, Veronica, show up, everybody. But and I asked my husband because I was so embarrassed. I was really embarrassed, especially like Russell's already like kind of quirky on all of itself, and so he probably was embarrassed for me, and his face probably turned red. And he's like,
I'm
"Oh my
sure
gosh,
his face was beat red.
oh dear God, woman, why are you? Where is he? He probably wishes nobody would have raised their hand, but me, I'm standing over there like a ding dong. And then my husband, I said, "Babe, why was I the only one?" And he said, "I think it's because you're very confident in our relationship." And I was like, "Okay, that's worth embarrassing." Like, it's worth me being embarrassed or Russell being embarrassed to know that, hey, I really do want this to work with my husband. So, I don't know.
It's okay to be the only girl in the room that wants to say, hey, yeah, sex is a very important part of marriage.
Yeah, and it hasn't always, I mean, it's important no matter if you're doing it or not. There's times when we weren't doing it, and it has a major effect on our closeness. So, are there any tips or tricks as we're rounding out and ending and doing all the things? Like, what else do we need to know? I want to have her back because she didn't even tap into anything as much as I want her to, but like, because she's got all the goods and all the juice. But anything, final thoughts of something people could do, or besides follow you? We'll get to that in a minute.
I mean, final thoughts, I think it's so important to know yourself and trust yourself, right? Like, you're not going to go do something horrible that's going to dishonor you and your whole entire family or whatever. So just trust yourself in that realm, especially. Like, it's okay to communicate with your partner and say, hey, I really, really value our intimate relationship and I want to make it amazing. And so I'm going to go look for some resources that will help both of us in this area because it is that important to me, right? And so just trust yourself. Don't like worry like, oh my gosh, I'm going to ruin our relationship. I'm going to become super kinky, sexy, like sex.
Yeah, because then your head gets like in your head, like, oh my gosh, my husband wants us to be so much more awesome. Like, ladies, I don't know if you ever played the sex mind game in your head where you're like, you're doing the things and you're like, is he loving this as much as me? I hope so. Is he wanting me to like dance from a pole right now? Like, what is he expecting? You know what I mean?
Let
Like,
me give you this tip. Let me end with this tip. This
I
is
like
the
him playing
best-
things in my head like,
This is the best tip, and I promise you this from the bottom of my heart with like all the knowledge in my soul. If you are enjoying yourself, your husband is enjoying himself.
oh, that's what we needed to know. That's what we needed to know. Okay, so just don't even think about it. Just go. Just go. What if we're trying to critique our husband? We do not want to take their balls and put them in a jar and be like, hey, you are so great at this part, but could you not do that? I mean, you have to do that lightly, right? Like,
Yes.
how do we, give us a tip on how to like,
Okay,
course
there's
correct. I mean, I
so
already do
many
this in a
things.
way, but like, I don't want to like, I want it from the expert.
I think the best tip is don't do it in the moment.
Okay. Well, Ashley Latimer might have failed a few times in that area. That's okay.
Maybe your husband can take it, maybe they can't. But my biggest tip is like wait until you're not in your bedroom anymore. Like the bedroom is pretty triggering. Like wait till you're out to dinner in a public place and bring up the topic and then talk about things that you like. Don't like necessarily be like, I really hate it when you touch me like this.
Okay.
But bring it up at dinner. Like I always recommend that couples have like a certain time of week when they have like a sex talk Tuesday or something, right?
Oh, Sex Talk Tuesday. Yes, please.
Yes.
Okay.
So go on a walk or something like that. Like there's something about heading towards the horizon together or something that's like very like bonding, right? Where you can talk about subjects so you're not like looking right in each other's eyes.
Okay, so you can look into the sunset while you are
Yes.
talking about
Yes.
the course correcting of the
Exactly.
sex.
But you're not necessarily course correcting. You're not saying stop doing this because I hate it and I want to barf in my mouth.
Okay, well, I wasn't thinking that. Just so we're clear, I wasn't thinking I was barfing in my mouth. I was just thinking, I love this more, but he's loving this. Or is he thinking I'm loving this? I don't know.
Exactly. So
That's
what,
where I start to like play the games in my head, like, maybe I'm supposed to be loving this. Like, I don't know.
No, you're not supposed to be loving anything you don't love. So as you're staring at the horizon,
Okay, we're not
You're-
looking at each
you're-
other's souls.
exactly, you're walking together and you're like, I think it would be so fun to try something a little more in this vein, or I think if you spent some time touching me here or in this way, like I
Still
might
looking at the horizon,
really
yeah.
like that.
Okay,
right?
I like it.
But also,
I like this.
But there's tons of games in my programs. I teach you how to teach each other how to touch each other.
Okay, I feel like I asked you final thoughts, but now I have another question. Dear God. Okay, so the one thing that makes this risky is I always think of my husband's gonna ask me to do something that's like, not that he ever has, but like, I'm like, he's really a creative human. I'm not going to be able to do this creative thing, so maybe that's why we don't talk about sex as much.
Oh.
Even though we have a lot of sex.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to like up our game. I don't know.
Well-
Because I'm always like nervous that he's gonna be like, I want you. I don't
stand
even
on
want to
your
say
head.
what I think he's gonna say, because then he's gonna be like, yeah, let's do that. That sounds like fun. Like,
So something that you could suggest
Okay,
is
tell
maybe
me.
like a game that you could like teach each other like fun ways to touch each other. And in the context of that game, you could maybe like share like, I don't really love this, but I really like this. But it's part of a game, so it's not like you're
Okay.
just like out of the blue saying, I hate it when you do this.
yeah, because I think sometimes I get a little nervous when we're talking about this, but if I'm staring into the sunset, I can just let him dream, and then I can like know other things he wants. But I think in my head, I'm like, oh, he's gonna ask for something crazy.
So something that's really fun is like a yes, no, maybe list. And so maybe this would be good for you because
Oh, I love
if
this
he has
list.
like a huge imagination and you're like, oh my God.
Well, he just
what's
has
on
an
his list?
imagination for everything. It's like,
Right.
talk about business. The homeboy's got an imagination that just goes, and you're like, okay, now we're in Narnia, everybody. So I think that in sex realm, it's like, oh, now we're going to sex Narnia. I don't know what that is. I don't even know what that is.
So here's a really fun date night idea, right? Go someplace like a little more private. You probably don't want to be at like a restaurant where your babysitter's going to come walking in, right, or something. But you're in a little bit more private place, but you're going to create a yes, no, maybe list where you're each going to take some time and you're going to put at the top is your yeses. Like, these are things I would love to try in bed with you. Like, I think it would be so much fun. And just allow your brain to go wherever it's going to go.
Okay.
And then-
Narnia. It's
and
going to Narnia.
Going to Narnia, and then you want to do a no. Like, these are like things I will not do. Like, these are definite no's for me. I do not want to try these things.
Things used to be on my no list that are on my
But that's
all
what's
the time
cool.
list
It's a
now.
fluid list, right?
Okay,
And then,
okay,
and
yes.
then there's a maybe list where it's like, oh, I feel like you may want to try this, and I don't know. I'm like, I could get there, but I'm kind of nervous about it. Those are going to go on your maybe list.
So then we just talk about it.
Then you just talk about the things on your
Easy
yes, no, maybe list.
peasy, easy peasy lemon squeezy. I am doing that. My husband is going to be so excited about all of this. He's going to be like, let's fill this out. Okay, so for real final thoughts. If you're all blushing, I'm sorry. I'm going to, after these lights come down, I'm just going to go into a full blush mode because I don't think I've ever been this open with so many other people other than my husband.
I just bring that out of people. That's so
It's
great.
okay. It's okay. No, I bring it out. I'm like the I Love Lucy of 2023, so. It It's okay. But you know what? It actually was going to make me cry. I don't care how quirky and how embarrassed I get because I love families and women enough that women need to get free from this. Women are like in their own prison, and society has put them in prison, maybe even their husband on accident. All of these pressures, social media, the porn industry, there's all this pressure on women, and it's really devalued women, and it's devalued sex and made sex a weird, gross commodity. And so if I have to be a little embarrassed and ask the hard questions, it's okay, because if I help one woman, it's worth it.
Amen, sister.
I'll be embarrassed every day of my life if I could keep freeing women in this area. This is a really hard area to talk about. So, any
Thank you
final
for
thoughts?
thank you for asking the hard questions, and keep asking the hard questions because somebody needs to talk about it. It is such an important topic, and it is such an important part of marriage. And as you are raising your children, like, it's important for them to understand that sexuality is a normal, it's God-given, it's beautiful, and if we use it for what it was designed for, which is to create pleasure and bonding between husband and wife, then there is no wrong that we can do. And so
Yeah.
it is worth it to get a little bit uncomfortable to talk about the thing that is what God created it to be.
Amen. And all the people said amen. Because we get stuck in shame loops, and shame and guilt, especially in sex. But
That's what the world wants you to do.
yeah, but that's not what we're going to do. Heck no, we're going to rise up and be unicorns and magical, mythical beings and She-Ras and Monras and Veronicas and all the us. And we are going to have better marriages, better families, better businesses, better communities. I feel like if people could just unlock this one thing, it would change the world.
Oh my gosh, yes, amen. In closing thoughts, the best thing you can do for your kids, like literally the best, if you think about a couple who is sexually fulfilled and they love each other and they have that beautiful energy and synergy with each other, and your kids can feel that. Your kids
Yeah.
see it, they feel it. You don't necessarily have to tell them exactly what it is if they're not ready for it yet. But it's a beautiful thing when husband and wife, they love each other and they are treating each other as God intended.
Love it. So don't let your relationship go into a recession, everybody. Not this year. Tell us how they can find you, buy all your things, figure out all your date night tricks and all the things. How can they find you?
You're so amazing. So you can find me at monicatanner.com is the easiest way to find me. I'm on Instagram at monitanner1, or I have a brand new YouTube channel, which is Secrets of Happily Ever After. If you forget my name, Monica Tanner, you could also go to secretsofhappilyeverafter.com. It's a little outdated, but there's lots of things on there as well.
And she's got a podcast, like get all the tips.
Oh, my
tricks.
podcast is called Secrets of Happily Ever After as well, and that's really fun to listen to. So
And find her. I know you're not the best that you could be at sex. I'm getting better all the time. Just so everybody knows, that's where we're at, okay? I'm a work in progress. My husband's happy, I'm happy, all the things, but could always get better. So learn all the things from her, find her, and never forget that I am clapping and cheering for you. I want you to win in business, marriage, and family. Go change the world, and I will see you in the next video.